Listen, brothers. You hear that fire pop and the rain tapping the cabin roof? That sound used to mean safety. Now it just means the world is quiet enough for trouble to find you. I learned something after I left the teams. Walking off a battlefield does not end the war. Sometimes the silence is worse than gunfire. That's when the ghosts do their work. Because the breach always comes. Not through a door with a kick. Sometimes it walks into a glass tower in Seattle, wearing a suit and a smile. A CEO thinks the danger is handled, fires the wrong man in front of investors, and minutes later, the whole system starts to bleed on the screen. So tell me, brothers, when the safe zone collapses, do you run or do you fight? A little girl with a marker, a former SEAL in a red and black flannel, a black and tan service dog named Ranger, and sabotage hiding inside the data stream right before a government auditorium test. Hold the line. Sit down with me. Let's walk through it and pull a survival lesson out of the wreckage. Rain on glass and a crumpled napkin. Cold rain drifted across downtown Seattle, thin and persistent, turning glass towers into blurred silhouettes and pressing a quiet weight onto the morning streets. Ryan Walker stood near the service elevator, the smell of disinfectant faint in the air. The red and black flannel hung loose over his broad shoulders, softened by years of wear. Faded jeans creased at the knee when he shifted his weight, favoring the left leg without thinking. At his side, Ranger waited. The German shepherd's black and tan coat caught the light, muscles steady, eyes alert. The black harness read, "Service Dog, Do Not Pet," in clean white letters. Ryan trusted the dog more than most people. Ranger never mistook noise for danger. Ryan was 40, a former Navy SEAL who had learned how to disappear in crowded places. He kept his head down, tools organized, routes planned. This contract job paid enough and offered hours that bent when his leg needed rest. It also came with something else. Silence. Silence felt safe. Across the lobby, Claire Bennett moved with sharp purpose, heels striking stone in precise beats. She was 37, tall and controlled, hair pulled back into a clean line. Her blazer fit like a promise she had no intention of breaking. People watched her pass, not because she asked for attention, but because she carried it. Claire's mind ran on lists. Meetings, metrics, risk, control. Today, the list had broken. "Mia," she said, lowering her voice without softening it. "Stay close." Mia Bennett clutched a small backpack to her chest. 9 years old, bright eyes dulled by too many instructions, she nodded and tried to keep pace. Her sneakers squeaked against the wet floor. The nanny had canceled at dawn. Claire had made a decision and hated herself for the resentment that followed it. Work did not wait. Neither did investors. Claire guided Mia into a small meeting room with a glass wall and a whiteboard that smelled of fresh marker. Coloring books, a tablet, snacks arranged with care. Claire knelt, straightened Mia's hoodie, and pressed a kiss into her hair. "I will be right here," she said. "Do not wander." Mia nodded again. She always nodded. Claire turned away, already late. Time passed. Meetings stacked. Numbers blurred. The rain thickened. Mia's attention drifted. The tablet felt loud. The colors were wrong. She slipped into the hallway during a lull, drawn by the hum of machines and the promise of quiet. The service corridor smelled different, cleaner, cooler. That was when she saw the dog. Ranger noticed her first, ears forward, body still. Ryan followed the dog's gaze and raised a hand, calm and open. "It's okay," he said, voice low. He read children the way he read rooms. Slowly. Mia froze. The harness words were big and clear. Service dog, do not pet. She liked rules that made sense. I dropped something, she said, pointing to a pencil that had rolled toward a drain. Ryan shifted, a brief hitch in his step. He reached it before Ranger moved. You're fine, he said. Happens. Up close, Mia saw the silver at his temples, the lines around his eyes that did not match his calm. He wore kindness like a jacket he forgot he had on. I'm Mia, she said. Ryan, he replied. This is Ranger. He works. Ranger sat, eyes softening just enough. Mia smiled. It surprised her. Ryan pulled a folded napkin from his pocket to wipe a smear of water from the floor. The pencil tip scratched a line by accident. Ryan paused, then added 2 more lines. A small pattern. Boxes within boxes. Want a puzzle? He asked. Not a command. An offer. Mia leaned closer. Her fear loosened. She counted without moving her lips. The answer came fast. She pointed. Ryan nodded once. Good. Something opened in her chest. A laugh slipped out before she could stop it. Ryan smiled back, brief and genuine, then folded the napkin and handed it to her like it mattered. Learning is quieter when you listen, he said. Footsteps approached. Derek Shaw stopped at the corner, watching with a polite smile that did not reach his eyes. He was 41, well-groomed, suit pressed sharp. Control mattered to him too, but his came from above. What's this? Derek said lightly. Field trip. Mia stiffened. Ryan straightened, the room cooling. She wandered, Ryan said. No excuses, just truth. Derek's gaze flicked to the harness, then to the napkin in Mia's hand. Something calculated settled behind his eyes. Protocol matters, he said. We can't have distractions. Claire appeared at the end of the hall, already apologizing with her eyes before her words arrived. She took Mia's hand, nodded to Derek, and did not look at Ryan. She did not see the napkin. I'm sorry, she said, meaning the schedule, not the moment. Ryan stepped back. Ranger rose and followed. The corridor closed around them. In the meeting room, Mia smoothed the napkin flat and tucked it into her backpack. The rain tapped the glass. Somewhere below, a man in a red and black flannel returned to his route, unaware that a quiet choice had already begun to bend the day. The room that went silent. Rain hammered harder by midday, streaking the windows as low clouds pressed down on the city, turning noon into something closer to dusk. The main conference room at Bennett Learning Systems filled with controlled tension. Screens glowed. Investors settled into leather chairs, jackets still damp from the rain. Coffee sat untouched. This was supposed to be routine. Claire Bennett had rehearsed it down to the minute. Claire stood at the head of the table, posture straight, hands steady, voice calm. At 37, she had mastered the art of authority. Her dark blazer was immaculate. Her face revealed nothing of the morning disruption, nothing of the quiet unease she had felt when she realized Mia was not where she left her. Mia now sat in a chair near the wall, feet swinging slightly above the floor. Her backpack rested against her leg. Inside it, folded carefully, was the napkin. She kept touching it, as if to make sure it was real. The demo began. Charts flowed across the screen. Predictive curves, confidence bands, the language of certainty. Claire spoke with precision, explaining how their platform identified learning gaps and adapted in real time. Heads nodded, pens moved. Then the numbers drifted. At first, it was subtle, a deviation small enough to ignore. William Cole, the lead engineer, frowned at his laptop. He was in his early 40s, tall and thin, hair already thinning at the crown. Brilliant, anxious, proud of systems that obeyed him. He typed faster. The drift widened. A murmur moved through the room. One investor leaned forward, another crossed his arms. William cleared his throat. "Just a calibration lag," he said, voice tight. "One moment." The system refused to settle. Claire felt the room change. She had felt this before. The split second when confidence cracked and panic looked for a place to land. Her jaw tightened. Control. Maintain control. Mia's eyes stayed on the screen. She stopped swinging her feet. She saw the pattern before she understood it. The noise. The way the data jumped, not randomly, but with a rhythm that did not belong. Her fingers curled against her backpack strap. Ryan's voice came back to her. "Count the steps. Find the quiet part." Mia stood. The chair scraped softly against the floor. Too soft to stop her. Too loud to ignore. Claire turned. "Mia," she said, warning threaded through the word. Mia did not look at her mother. She walked to the whiteboard, marker already in her hand. Her grip was clumsy, her letters uneven, but the symbols were clear. She drew a box, then another inside it. She crossed out a section and wrote a simple note beside it. "Noise here." The room froze. William stared. His mouth opened, then closed. He took a step forward, then stopped himself. Mia finished and stepped back, heart pounding. "You don't fix it after," she said quietly. "You catch it before it grows." Silence stretched. Claire felt pride surge first, sharp and dangerous. Then fear followed, colder and heavier. She knelt beside Mia. "Where did you learn this?" Claire asked, keeping her voice even. Mia hesitated, then spoke the truth the way children do, without armor. "Ryan, the man downstairs, with the dog." Eyes turned, heads tilted. At the back of the room, Derek Shaw straightened. Derek rose smoothly, jacket perfectly cut, smile polite. At 41, he looked like the kind of man people trusted at first glance. His eyes scanned the room, measuring advantage. "That's concerning," Derek said. His tone was calm, professional. "Unauthorized interaction with executive family members is a serious breach." Claire stood. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She knew what this looked like. A child, a janitor, a loss of control. "We'll address it internally," she said quickly. Derek did not sit. "With respect, Claire, investors are present. Transparency matters." The word landed like a blade. Downstairs, Ryan Walker felt it before he heard it. He stood near the service entrance, red and black flannel darkened by damp air. Ranger seated at his left side. The German shepherd's ears flicked. Something had shifted above them. Ryan trusted that instinct. He always had. Security approached. "Ryan Walker," the guard said, not unkindly. "We need your badge." Ryan nodded. He unclipped it without argument. The left leg protested as he shifted his weight, but his face stayed calm. Ranger remained still, harness lettering stark against black fur. Service dog, do not pet. In the conference room, Derek's voice carried. "Company policy is clear. Boundaries exist for a reason." Claire looked at Mia, at the whiteboard, at the investors watching her choose. "Effective immediately," Claire said, each word precise. Mr. Walker is restricted from non-essential areas. The decision landed. Mia's face fell. Mom? She whispered. The system on the screen flickered again. A sharp spike tore through the data. William swore under his breath. That's not possible. Numbers scattered. Confidence bands collapsed. Instant regret. Claire felt it hit her chest like a physical blow. The man who understood the noise was gone. She had removed him herself. Derek's smile tightened. For the first time, uncertainty flashed in his eyes. In the hallway, Ryan turned once as the alarmed voices rose above. He did not look angry, only tired. Keep learning, he said softly to no one in particular. Ranger followed him out. Above, the room filled with questions. Claire stood frozen between the screen and her daughter, understanding too late that control without truth was just another kind of failure. What the silence revealed. The rain softened overnight, leaving Seattle wrapped in a damp gray calm. Streets washed clean, but heavy with things left unsaid. Ryan Walker moved through the veterinary clinic with the same quiet discipline he carried everywhere. The red and black flannel was faded at the cuffs, sleeves rolled just enough to free his hands. Ranger walked close at his side, black and tan coat gleaming under fluorescent lights, the service dog, do not pet, harness drawing respectful distance from others in the room. Ryan favored his left leg as he turned the corner, a habit shaped by old injuries and older memories. He did not rush. Ranger did not pull. They had learned patience together. The waiting room was filled with low voices and the scent of antiseptic. A receptionist smiled briefly, then returned to her screen. Ryan signed in, his handwriting neat and controlled. The kind of writing that came from years of keeping logs that mattered. Ranger sat on command, eyes scanning, alert but calm. Ryan's thoughts were not on the clinic. They were upstairs, in a glass room where numbers had fallen apart and a child's voice had cut through the noise. He replayed the moment Claire Bennett spoke his name as a problem to be managed. He did not blame her. Fear made people choose speed over truth. He had seen it in combat. He had seen it in boardrooms. The shape was the same. Still, the silence after hurt more than the decision itself. Across the city, Claire sat at her kitchen table long after midnight. The lights were off except for one over the sink. Rain tapped softly against the window. Her laptop remained open, graphs frozen mid-failure. She had stopped trying to fix them hours ago. Mia sat on the floor nearby, knees pulled to her chest, homework untouched. "You didn't do anything wrong," Claire said for the third time. Mia did not answer. She traced the edge of her backpack with one finger. Inside, the napkin stayed folded. It felt safer there. Claire watched her daughter and felt something tighten inside her chest. This was not defiance. This was retreat. Claire knew the difference. She saw it in employees who stopped asking questions. She had promised herself she would never let that happen at home. Yet here it was. "I just wanted to help," Mia said quietly. "I know," Claire replied. Her voice broke despite her effort to steady it. Sleep came late and thin. The next morning, the office felt different. Conversations paused when Claire passed. Screens were filled with the same stubborn errors. William Cole hunched over his workstation, eyes red, movements sharp. He avoided her gaze. Pride and panic did not mix well. Claire closed her office door and leaned against it, breathing slow, controlled. She thought of the way Mia had stood at the whiteboard without fear. She thought of the man in the flannel, who had knelt to a child's height and spoken as if time allowed it. A knock came. Hannah Price stepped in without waiting for an invitation. She was 38, hair cut short, eyes observant. As head of public relations, she had learned to read damage before it made headlines. She was practical, but not cruel. "We need to talk," Hannah said. Claire gestured to the chair. Hannah sat, tablet resting on her knee. "I reviewed the incident reports from yesterday," she said. "Something doesn't sit right." Claire said nothing. "Ryan Walker," Hannah continued. "He's not just maintenance. His background check is clean, but thin. Almost too thin." Claire felt a flicker of recognition. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying people who are nothing usually leave noise behind," Hannah said. "This man leaves silence." That night, Claire drove through rain-slicked streets to the clinic address Hannah had found. She did not bring an assistant. She did not rehearse. Ryan was in the exam room when the door opened. Ranger lay at his feet, head up, eyes tracking. Ryan stood slowly, weight shifting, flannel creasing at the shoulder. "Ms. Bennett," he said. No anger, no warmth, just presence. Claire swallowed. "Claire," she said, "please." The room was small, clean. A heart monitor sat on the counter beside folded pamphlets. Ryan noticed her glance. "For Ranger," he said. "Routine." Claire nodded, then paused. "I was wrong," she said. The words felt heavier spoken aloud. "I chose control over understanding." Ryan studied her face. He saw the fatigue she hid well. He saw a mother learning too late what fear could cost. "I answered questions," Ryan said evenly. "That's all." "It mattered," Claire said. "To her. To me." Silence settled, not hostile, just careful. Ryan finally nodded once. "Children learn best when no one is trying to win," he said. In the days that followed, the cost became visible. Mia stopped asking why. She finished assignments without curiosity. Her teacher called, concern threaded through professionalism. At the office, the system continued to fail. Simulations collapsed. Confidence eroded. Derek Shaw watched it all with quiet satisfaction that never reached his eyes. Claire sat alone one evening, the city glowing beneath her window. She thought of a flannel shirt moving through corridors unnoticed, of a service dog waiting without demand, of a napkin folded small enough to fit inside a child's bag. For the first time in years, Claire allowed the possibility that certainty had blinded her. And once seen, the truth refused to stay quiet. The evidence no one wanted. A pale break in the clouds let morning light spill over Seattle, but the air stayed cold, the sidewalks still slick, as if the city itself refused to dry out. Hannah Price worked best when everyone else slept. She sat in the PR office with her blazer draped over the chair and a cup of coffee gone cold beside her. The building was quiet at this hour, the kind of quiet that made small sounds feel loud. A keyboard click, a printer hum, the soft whir of an HVAC vent. She had been hired to protect Claire Bennett's company from the world. Tonight, she was protecting it from itself. On her screen, an old archive directory blinked open. Sterile folder names, restriction tags, a long chain of reviewed and closed. Hannah had learned the value of boredom. People buried the worst truths under dull labels. She searched one more time, not for headlines, but for patterns. Then she found the logs. They were dated 5 years back. attached to an internal incident report marked as final. On paper, the story was clean. A shutdown, a missed deadline, a resignation. In the margins, the language had been carefully chosen, as if someone were afraid of what plain words might reveal. Hannah cross-referenced timestamps with server temperature alerts. Her eyes narrowed. She pulled up sensor data and watched the graph climb. Spike, spike, spike. Not one rack, 3. A cascade about to happen. Her stomach dropped. That shutdown had not been reckless. It had been a firebreak. Hannah scrolled farther and found an email thread buried beneath a chain of approvals. The tone was polished. The intent was not. The sender was Derek Shaw. 5 years ago, he had not been a COO. He had been a rising operations manager, hungry and careful. In the email, he wrote about optics, confidence, and containment. He recommended framing the shutdown as insubordination to avoid alarming investors. He suggested the engineer who initiated it should take responsibility and disappear quietly. Hannah stared at the name at the bottom of the chain. Ryan Walker. Her breath caught. She remembered his stillness, his disciplined silence, the neat handwriting on the clinic form. People like Ryan did not make sloppy mistakes in crises. They made hard decisions and lived with the cost. Hannah printed the logs. The pages slid out warm, like proof fresh from a furnace. She placed them in a folder and walked down the hall toward Claire's office without asking permission. Claire was already there, coat still on, hair pulled back too tight. She looked like someone who had not slept, someone who had been trying to outrun regret and losing. Hannah set the folder on the desk. "You need to read this," she said. Claire opened it slowly, as if the paper might bite. As she read, her face shifted in small increments. Confusion. Focus. Then something that looked like grief. "He saved the building," Claire whispered. Hannah nodded. "And he got buried for it." Claire's throat tightened. A memory resurfaced. Mia's napkin. Mia's sudden quiet. Ryan's steady gaze when she apologized. The way he did not defend himself, even when he had every reason to. Claire pressed her palms flat on the desk. "Why would he stay silent?" she asked, voice rough. Hannah pointed to a page. Non-disclosure agreement. He signed it. No lawsuit. No public fight. Just gone. Claire closed her eyes. For years, she had believed the story she inherited. She had not asked where it came from. She had not questioned who benefited. Now she knew. "The government review is in 8 days," Hannah said. "If the algorithm keeps drifting, we fail publicly." Claire opened her eyes. "Find him," she said. The words landed like a vow. It took 2 days. Hannah called contacts in facilities. She cross-checked vendor lists, old forwarding addresses, and service records. She found a clinic visit attached to a name that had not changed. Claire drove herself, rain returning as if on cue. Ryan's apartment building sat above a laundromat and beside a corner store in the industrial district. The stairwell smelled like detergent and damp concrete. Claire climbed to the 3rd floor, folder tucked under her arm, heels too loud on the steps. Door 308. She knocked once, then again. The door opened. Ryan stood there in the red and black flannel, sleeves rolled, jeans faded, boots scuffed. His beard was trimmed, silver visible at the temples. His left leg bore the weight of old pain, subtle but real. Ranger appeared beside him, body angled between Ryan and the hallway, harness lettering clear. Service dog, do not pet. Ryan's expression shifted from surprise to guarded calm. "Ms. Bennett," he said. "Claire," she corrected gently. "Please." Ryan hesitated, then stepped back. "Come in." The apartment was small but spotless. A table held neatly stacked bills, a toolbox, and a single framed photo turned face down. A heart monitor lay beside medical pamphlets. The sight made Claire's chest ache with a new kind of shame. "I came to apologize," Claire began. She forced herself to meet his eyes. "For what happened this week, and for what happened 5 years ago, even though I wasn't here then. I should have asked questions before I acted." Ryan listened without interrupting. His stillness was not passive. It was controlled, as if he had learned long ago what emotion could cost. "Why are you here now?" he asked. Claire opened the folder and slid the printed logs toward him. "Because I know the truth," she said. "And because I need your help. The platform is failing. The review is coming. And Mia," her voice caught, "Mia stopped being herself." At the mention of Mia, Ryan's eyes softened just slightly. "I never meant to cause trouble," he said. "You didn't," Claire replied. "We did." Ryan studied the pages. He did not look triumphant, only tired, as if he had been carrying this weight for years and was surprised someone else could finally see it. Claire took a breath. "I'll offer a contract," she said. "Remote if you prefer. Private. No spotlight." Ryan lifted his gaze. "I'll help," he said, "but only if you agree to 3 things." Claire nodded, heart pounding. "First," Ryan said, "no scapegoating. Not in your company, not in your life." Claire swallowed. "Agreed." "Second," he continued, "the logs stay transparent. No burying truth to protect titles." Claire nodded again. "Agreed." "Third," Ryan said, voice lower now, "Mia keeps learning because she enjoys it, not because anyone wants to use her." Claire felt tears threaten and refused to hide them. "Agreed," she whispered. Ranger sat beside Ryan, calm as stone. Outside, rain fell steadily, washing the street below. Inside the small apartment, Claire realized something simple and terrifying. The hardest work was not fixing an algorithm. It was unlearning the fear that had taught her to silence the people who saved her. The pattern holds. A thin morning fog clung to the river as sunlight slowly pushed through, soft and pale, turning the city quiet before the day could argue back. The government auditorium rose from the concrete like a promise and a threat at once. Glass walls reflected the gray sky. Inside, rows of seats filled with auditors, policy advisors, and technical observers. The air carried the low hum of expectation. Claire Bennett stood near the stage entrance, hands clasped, breathing measured. She wore a dark suit today, simple, deliberate. No armor, just readiness. 8 days of pressure had carved something new into her posture. Not weakness, awareness. Behind the curtain, Ryan Walker waited. The red and black flannel was clean but unchanged, sleeves rolled, jeans worn, boots grounded. At his side, Ranger sat with disciplined calm, black and tan coat immaculate, harness stark against the light. Service dog, do not pet. Ryan rested a hand lightly on Ranger's back, not for reassurance, for connection. Ryan felt the old familiar tension settle into his muscles. This was not combat. but it carried the same weight. Public failure. Public truth. He had learned long ago that courage did not always look loud. Sometimes it looked like standing still while others tried to move you out of the frame. The presentation began smoothly. Claire spoke first. She did not oversell. She did not hide. She explained the system as it was, not as she wished it to be. Screens lit with data streams. The platform responded well. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. 10 minutes in, the spike appeared. It was deliberate. Ugly. A jagged surge that cut through the data like a blade. The confidence intervals widened. A few heads turned. Pens paused. William Cole was not present. Derek Shaw was watching remotely. Claire felt the room lean forward, hungry for collapse. Her pulse quickened, but she did not flinch. She thought of Mia's small voice. Count the breaths. This, Claire said clearly, is an intentional stress input. The murmurs stopped. She stepped away from the podium and gestured toward the side of the stage. We planned for this. Ryan walked out. There was a beat of confusion as the audience took in the flannel, the service dog, the quiet confidence of a man who did not look like a keynote speaker. Ranger stopped at the edge of the stage and lay down, alert, still. This is Ryan Walker, Claire said. He designed the original safety logic behind this system. Ryan connected his tablet. The screens shifted. He did not rush. What you're seeing, Ryan began, voice steady, is noise introduced to test reaction time. He highlighted a section of the stream. The mistake most systems make is trying to correct after the damage spreads. He isolated the anomaly, separated it cleanly. The numbers steadied. Instead, Ryan continued, you contain first. Then you recalibrate. The platform responded. Error rates dropped. Confidence bands tightened. The room held its breath. Within minutes, stability returned. Silence followed. Then applause. It started small. It grew honest. At the back of the room, an auditor stood. He nodded once, slow and deliberate. From the control booth, Hannah Price activated a secondary display. Server logs appeared. Timestamps aligned. Email headers followed. The truth projected. The email chain traced back to Derek Shaw. His language, his signature, his intent. Gasps rippled through the seats. By the time the feed cut, the damage was done. Derek's image vanished from the remote screen. The board members exchanged looks that did not need words. After the session, contracts were signed. Investigations announced. Accountability restored. Ryan unplugged the tablet and stepped back. He did not seek applause. Ranger rose and followed as he left the stage. Later, the building felt lighter. Claire found Ryan in a quiet hallway overlooking the river. The fog had lifted. Sunlight cut clean lines across the water. "You didn't have to come back," she said. Ryan shrugged slightly. "Truth holds better when it's seen." Claire nodded. "The board wants to offer you a permanent role." Ryan looked out the window. "I'm not interested in titles." "I thought you might say that." He turned to her. "I want to build something smaller. A place for kids who don't get noticed. A room where questions aren't interruptions." Claire smiled, real and unguarded. "We'll fund it." They named it simply, The Lab. That afternoon, Mia arrived,
backpack slung low, napkins still inside. She ran to Ryan without fear, stopping just short of Ranger's harness. "Did it work?" she asked. Ryan knelt, careful with his leg. "It did." Mia grinned. The sound felt like a release. Weeks later, the lab filled with voices. Children of custodians, technicians, guards. Whiteboards covered in scribbles.
Laughter without permission. Ryan taught in the afternoons. Claire visited without scheduling. She learned to listen more than she spoke. On a clear spring evening, they stood together by the door, watching Mia explain a puzzle to a younger child, hands moving with confidence. "You changed," Ryan said quietly. Claire nodded. "So did you." They shared a look that did not rush to define itself. Respect first, trust after. Ranger lay nearby, eyes half closed, always aware. The city moved on. Companies rose and fell, but inside the small room filled with questions, the pattern held. Truth before control, listening before fear, and learning not as a performance, but as a way back to one another. Sometimes the miracle is not a sudden rescue or a voice from the sky. Sometimes it is the quiet moment when truth is revealed, when a wrong choice is corrected, and when a hardened heart finally listens. Faith often works this way. God does not always stop us from making mistakes. Instead, He allows consequences to teach us, to humble us, and to guide us back to what truly matters. In daily life, miracles appear when we choose honesty over pride, compassion over fear, and people over appearances. May this story remind us that no one is invisible to God. The ones overlooked by the world may be the very instruments He uses to bring clarity, healing, and justice. If this message touched your heart, please share this story, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so more people can be encouraged. May God bless you and your family.